Today on What Went Wrong, we review our Hi, I'm Brett Mauser, and I just completed my 44th feature film.
Wow.
The Tag Conspiracy. And we've talked about how we review our own films after screenings and what we talk about. And we just finished watching The Tag Conspiracy for the first time. You're
Right.
the first person that's gotten to see it from beginning to end.
Outstanding.
And I thought it would be interesting for people to see what we talk about and how we do it.
Okay.
With The Tag Conspiracy just ending, what did you think?
I liked it. I wasn't sure what to think about the movie when we first started with it. You know, because certain things I could see, like Lady Lawman, I kind of understand where that was going. Other movies that you've done, I'm kind of like, this is definitely one that I wasn't sure when you were first bringing it up to me. I knew it was probably going to be pretty special effect heavy, and it was. Had a lot of special effects in it. The lighting was much better. That's one of the things. Not only was the lighting better, but also you were able to paint pictures with the light, which I mean the colored lights and those.
I told story with the emotions and with the guns and with the
light. The light bars themselves. They're the little. For those of you who haven't seen it, it's these little light. They're about this long.
The little tubes.
Little tubes, basically. They look like neon, not neon, but, fluorescent tubes. And they're different colors, and they can do different things. They can make police lights. They can make lightning. They can do all kinds of neato gee whiz stuff. And they can also do the TV stuff, which was really cool in the senator's office. You did that one scene, which I did not realize was happening at the time. But it was like a long shot outside of a building, like in midair, 1,000 feet in the air, 500 feet in the air, however tall that building was. I had no idea because there was no place to film it with a long shot like that. It just didn't. You didn't film it. You were like here, but somehow it looks like we're 50, 100 feet away.
I had a very wide lens,
Yeah.
and I couldn't quite get your feet, which is why when I built the whole scenario, I put a little black area around the window that just seemed natural, so it covered it up. So if we removed all the effects, we'd see you were cut off the kneecaps.
Well, it looks pretty cool because I never like seeing myself. I'm not a fan of me. There were times I was watching it and I was thinking if we could be moving, it would make the film feel like it was moving more. Like whenever Hal's getting the exposition, if we could be driving somewhere. It's one of the things about certain movies. They feel static as opposed to... One of the things about, I guess, we're going back to Star Wars, was you feel like you were constantly in motion. You were constantly moving somewhere. It's like once the movie started, we didn't sit still except for like hanging out with Ben, Uncle Ben and Annie M, whatever the hell her name was, Aunt Beru. And from then on, we were just moving the whole time.
Yeah, that's a logistical nightmare. It is. And when because so much of this took place at night, and we had only the X amount of days, we had to shoot a lot of interiors during the day and make it seem like night. So all the car stuff where Hal was doing that in the original script.
Yeah,
there was actually a line written in there for him where he said, "Can you walk and talk?" And she says, "Well, your battery's low." We wanted that to be a walking conversation,
right?
But A, the logistics of scheduling; B, the nighttime. It just wasn't going to work out,
right? And that's one of the things whenever it comes to, because whenever you're building a world, because unlike in other I guess worlds in which you put stuff, this is a new world. It's a brand new universe. We've never been here before. And so you had to build it. And so that takes time. That takes some exposition. And it's always...
But I also tried to do that with just one-lines here and there.
Yeah.
I mean, all throughout. I mean...
Well, not just that, but I'm just talking about whenever you have our hero, which in this case is Hal, and he wakes up on this new planet. He's like trying to figure out what the hell is going on. And so you have Allison, sweetheart, talking to him, who, by the way, that was one of the funniest how do I say this? The rapport between Hal and his phone is hilarious. You know, It sounds weird, but the phone, the between the phone and Hal talking to each other, and the way Hal's like, he's like, I'm not sure. I may have created a monster. Of course, Maggie Tyler's in there, and I always love me some Maggie Tyler. And Lenny, his facial expressions just killed me. Just absolutely. Everything from the look on his face when something was going on to the highway, he was just like, that kind of stuff. To the end when he, all of a sudden turned into the creepy kid, the creepy horror child. Mm-hmm. I'm not calling you a child, Lenny, but I'm just saying that, Taylor. But there comes up when you're like, come play with us, Tommy. Or Danny, come play with us, Danny.
It was single-minded focus.
Yeah.
Just had to do what he had to do.
Yeah, and I was just like, oh, creepy kid vibe. Okay, that's cool.
Which harkens back to a little bit of the original Vosot, because he had a little bit of that.
He had a little bit of Vosot. He was like, have you ever thought about what would happen? And I'm like...
I was raised believing that suicide was a mortal sin. That if you kill yourself, you go straight to hell. It's something that you can't ask forgiveness for.
That makes sense.
Do you think I could make it past the no suicide clause? If I jump from a really tall building, and on my way down I pray to God and ask for forgiveness?
I'm not sure if I want to hang out with him or give him therapy. But of course their dynamic has always been fantastic.
Yeah, and they were such an integral part of the film. It's almost whose film is it? Is it Maggie and Lenny's? Because even though you have Hal and the cop, they have growth as well. They have their arcs and they have their decisions, and everything happens. Everything that's happening around them is happening to progress their goal.
Right. And I almost kind of feel like, Carl was right. He was like, yeah, I'm the only innocent one in this. I'm just kind of, and I kind of do feel like that Carl was just kind of minding his own goddamn business, and all of a sudden just got pulled into this thing because his partner happens to be the senator's daughter, and that's bad enough, right? If someone told me, by the way, your partner's the senator's daughter, I'm like, motherfucker, what? But besides that, it's like, if then they said, by the way, espionage and this and the other stuff, I'm like, I'm out.
You were kind of with him when he was like, no, this is my fight.
This is my fight. I'm like, goddamn right, it's not your fight. I'm out. You want me to go to a thing and do the stuff with the... No. That ain't going to happen. And I, of course, Dub did a great job doing that stuff.
Amazing to think that's... that Dub played Andrews in Lady Lawman. In the very next film, he plays Carl Reno like this.
And I can still see that thing in him, but... the way he, that one scene, I don't want to give all the scenes away, but that one time when he was just...
You're walking down a dark alley with thousands of dollars hanging out of your pocket.
Actually, I have walked down a dark alley with thousands of dollars in my pocket.
I can't, man. I can't debate with a psychopath.
And I'm like, I feel you, brother. I am with you in that. I'd be the same way with Carl. The Jeff character, he'd kind of react a little bit. He'd be kind of like... Because I can only imagine, once again, without giving stuff away, to where the Jeff character would be looking at Hal going, you want me to what? Wait. But seriously, if Hal were to explain to me, okay, here's my plan. I'm like, yeah, that is... No. Yeah, it's crazy, but it's stupid, too. No, we're not doing that. No, it'll work. It will not work. It'll totally work. It will totally not work.
But it worked.
But it worked. There's no. Of course, at the end, I'm sure I'll be like, "There's no way that should have worked." What? Anyway, so there's a bunch of that. I'm sorry. So like the static thing is one of those things. I wish things could move more, but I understand why. Yeah. It seemed like what's her name? Leslie. It seems like Leslie's audio was a little bit louder than the other ones, and I don't know if that's a thing or if that's just how it was recorded.
I can go back in.
Yeah, just since she's just a little bit loud.
I already started on the dance because I only really noticed it in the dance.
Yeah.
And while you were in the bathroom, I did that.
Yeah, I did notice that Leslie was a little bit louder than the other ones.
She was the first one I did, so that might have had something.
That might have to do with it.
Because all of Leslie's lines, all of them, except for when they're outside the house,
had to be dubbed.
All of it was looped.
Was looped, yeah. And of course, she's once again I'm not going to say the breakout star, but she was adorable. I just wanted to pat her on the head. You know.
Well,
That sounds diminutive, and I'm sorry, but she just, we're talking with her, and once again, if you've ever met her, as I'd never met the girl until we were on set, and I'm just like, you were absolutely fantastic to work with, you know, and you just told me your name. I'm the house partner, Rebecca. Here's the thing. When it comes to chicks playing badasses, I so often don't buy it. Okay. And, you know, I mean, we talked about Wonder Woman, Daughter of a God, all that kind of crazy stuff. But for the most part, whenever you show me a girl who's a badass and she's trying to do all stuff, I'm like, you know, no. Okay. Women have certain aspects that make them very good at certain things. Okay. Now, violence is typically not one of those things, but if they use what they have, they can be very good at what they do. Women have very good lower body strength. They have a low center of gravity. They have kind of stuff. That's all. That's the genetics about, you know, what they're made to do, genetically speaking, evolutionarily speaking. And she didn't come across as being the daughter of a god kind of stuff, where I'm just like, no, like punching, okay? A girl typically cannot ball up her fist and punch because she's using this part, and that's not what it works. She uses a hammer at one point. Well, yeah, a hammer will certainly do that stuff, held by anybody. Hammer, the whole point of a hammer is to take a certain amount of force from your body, extend it about that far, and then put it all into a space about that big, which, by the way, is usually hard cast steel, you know, or billet. But I mean, a piece. So basically, you're taking all the force of the human body and putting it into a metal space about that big, and that's what she was using to beat the shit out of somebody. I'm like, can buy that, totally buy that. At one point, she uses her leg to do a thing, and she definitely has the, for lack of a better term, and don't take it as being a bang, she definitely has the ass to handle that. And I don't mean that she's got a big butt. I mean, she's definitely got the build to be able to, you know, use her leg in order to hurt somebody. That's believable. And so I will say that was one of the good things about her character. I never saw her as trying to be a badass, Billy Badass, you know, doing like a guy does. Because that's where you lose me. Because, you know, it's
yeah, and when we were on set, you know, Paige and I would usually work some stuff out.
Yeah.
Because sometimes we'd got on set and not having any idea what we were going to do.
That happens.
And it was just working, okay, what are we going to do? How are we going to do it? And we did think logically about that.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, she's going to be hiding. She's going to be sneak attacking. She's going to find, like when she fights that security guard guy, you know, it's like, okay, she sees he's got something wrong with his hand, and that's what she's attacking.
right.
Opens that up, then just that one hit to the windpipe, and
Yeah, and hammer fisting is one of the things I talk about when we converse with fighting. Is hammer fisting is much more effective than doing this because there's all the impact inside your bones. But military teaches hammer fisting because it's this tough, meaty part of your hand, and you can generate a lot of force without damaging the actual functioning, because you need your trigger fingers and your intricacies. And so this is a terrible idea, whereas this is much better. And she was, you know, now if she was hitting him in the sore spot, great idea. That would definitely cause problems and issues. And then hitting him like that to crack that stuff, good idea. Yeah, good. So that's the thing. Whenever it comes to the fighting, it's one of my pet peeves is women being superheroes. No, stop. Just stop. She did. Yeah.
She used her assets.
She used her assets as a woman, as a professional, as a female professional hitman, killer, whatever would do. Outstanding. As a credit to you and her both. Y'all for writing it and her for making it look right. And that's just one of those things. I'm like, oh God, you know. But she did. It went well. It went well.
Now, one of the very few times that you said, you know, while we were watching it, normally you'll stop it, you know, and we'll talk it out, and you know, this time you had a couple little comments here and there. One of them was when the guy had Leslie. We're talking about Leslie in the neck lock, and he's going to fight Dub, and he just throws her to the ground.
Right.
You made the comment, should have just
killed her.
In almost all the drafts, he did. And that was because originally Carl's ex was in the warehouse too.
That's right.
Remember that. She was written out just to be spoken of at that point, which I think worked out for the best.
Much better.
But you know, she
For the flow.
and Leslie in the original draft were supposed to get killed by Drew at that moment. So he same situation. He was just going to snap her neck, and then they were going to fight.
Right.
That was one of the changes that happened. That it was like, let's do something different than a typical Mauser film. Let's have a happy ending.
Yeah.
Let's do something, and that was the road that I took, which is maybe says something about reality, how it doesn't have any happy endings, but because in real life that's what would have happened.
I mean,
but it lended it to itself, and I'm so much happier with the ending than I had the original. The original draft, everybody died.
yeah, it's terrible. Because I remember going, "What the f- is the point of this movie?" You know, nothing worked right, nothing went out, and it's just really the whole thing is stupid.
And in the and you're right. And it took that. You know, I was so excited about certain aspects, and I just tried to get where I just did what I could to get where I wanted to go,
Right.
rather than pay attention to the details. And it was even little things like we had talked about in a previous episode about a propane tank that I was trying to that I had to do at the very last minute because I had been thinking about it since we were shooting. And it was one of those things that just popped in my head. It was like, well, I need to explain, why they're not dead, and also that aspect that kept you whispering in my ear, in the back of my head, that is like, Hal wouldn't do it, Hal wouldn't do that, Hal wouldn't do that, Hal wouldn't do that.
It just did. There's all kinds of stuff that was like, why would Hal do that to? I said, Hal wants to win because he wants to see the senator go down. Why would he do something to make himself die? Why would he do that to kill himself? Why would he put himself in that situation? Doesn't make any sense. Why would he do it? Why would he do it?
And once you said, I think one of the turning points was you had said, I want to see Hal win, and that's I think when the script started to change, because that was that last whisper in the ear that made me, and once I knew, okay, Hal's going to have this all plotted out. And all the seeds are there. If you're watching, this is a 2-watcher, because as you're watching it, then you'll hear things: the water trough, the lifeguard, all these things that are leading up to it, the actions that you make, the glancing down. And that was a decision I made in post, that I was going to do one of the typical Mauser flashbacks at the end that shows every little thing. And I decided against it. I said, no, I want to have those seeds there that build up to it, and then you can see it if you watch it again,
Right.
and you notice all those little changes.
You can see the way Jeff looks at things, and the way, or not Jeff, but Glover.
Yeah.
The way Glover looks at things.
Yeah.
I'm so used to calling myself Jeff. Is the way Glover does things and the way he kind of looks at stuff, and realize you're like, oh, I get it. Oh, okay, yeah.
So once the script happened, once I made that decision, that okay, and then it started to fall into place. It was like, okay, then Carl, then Leslie, and the Carl Leslie relationship was like, no, this has to go places.
Yeah.
And I think it might have been you or Ty that after we shot the scene with the phone, we'll always have Paris. That you or Ty said that was brilliant because you still had your sacrifice, even though it lends itself to a still happy ending with that.
Yeah.
But it had that sacrifice that needed to happen, that near death experience. And speaking of the phone, several people have said that's perfect casting for Johanna to play Allison Sweetheart. And the change that she makes as Hal programs her is phenomenal. I mean, who would have thought that a phone would be such a terrific character?
Well, I mean, who would have thought that a black Trans Am would be such a fantastic character in 1983?
Yeah.
I mean, if you had come to me in 1983, let's just say, if I was whatever, and says, all right. So here's the idea. We're going to take David Hasselhoff and we're going to have him be a cop. And then he gets like severely injured and they cut his face off. What? He's like, no, stay with me. Here, there's more. And he goes from being this one guy to a guy named Michael Knight, a man who has no past. And I'm like, okay, I dig that. And then he has a cool car. Oh, I can't remember. It was like Starsky and Hutch and all those kind of guys. Like that. Yeah, but it talks. Beg pardon?
Wait, like my mother the car?
Like Mother the Car? A black Trans Am, My Mother the Car? Is it imprinted with Michael in the car. No. He's just the cop. But now he works for, the Foundation. Okay. Foundation sounds cool. And the car talks. Okay, let's go back to the car. Yeah, and then if you said that there's no way, but I'm telling you right now, that voice, any kid from the 80s that was a kid from like 83 to 86 was like, hello, Michael. And here's that voice. Boom! Instantly, it's there, right? It's iconic. It's a thing, and we all can see either the red box for season 1 or the 3 lines for season 2, 3, 4, and 5, and we're all there. And so it's just one of those things. If you were once again to come to me, well, you could come to me and say this stuff, and I'll be like, oh yeah, that makes sense. But it's like, okay, so Hal's going to reprogram his phone. I'm like, well, of course he's going to reprogram his phone. He says, yeah, he's going to call it his dead wife's name. I was like, trippy, okay, that's cool. And then it's going to like hit on him.
Can you help me write a program?
I'd love to, but if the program was determined to be malicious, my internal software would have to report you to the authorities.
Sweetheart, do I need to get the screwdriver again?
I'd like that. I enjoy you being inside me.
I think I've given you a little bit too much personality.
An absolute a choice you made, a creative choice you made that was just stellar. It was hilarious, absolutely fantastic. So.
Yeah, it's almost now like you couldn't imagine Hal without Sweetheart.
No,
it's just anymore like you could imagine Michael Knight without Kit.
It's one of those things to where in this thing, Hal just talking to the, and of course the funny thing is she keeps popping up in all sorts of weird places. He'll just be like, "Sweetheart, yes, Hal.
Sweetheart,
yes, Hal.
activate any firearm for Detective Carl Reno and Detective Leslie Emerson."
Sure thing, lover.
Yes, baby. And everyone's like, "The hell," And the jokes we get to play off of that, and the things that get to happen with the cars, and the mercenaries, and then of course with Carl.
Hal?
Yes, Carl?
Is there something going on with you and your phone?
Is it in your business if there was?
No. No, it is not.
No, it's not. Yeah, just the things, right? Creative choices that you kind of go, huh? But then once you see it, once you watch it, it's as natural as could be. A credit to Ty.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And let's talk about the cast. I mean, a phenomenal cast. I mean, Ty was a given. He's been playing Hal for how many years? He's Hal. We knew what he was going to do, and I still think he improved even from the last film.
Yeah.
And then Carl, Carlos is just
great,
phenomenal.
Yeah.
And then the big surprise was Nicole, just because I'd never worked with her before.
Yeah.
She was a recommendation from Nikki. Just brought a terrific character.
First time I saw her, I was like, oh my god, I could pick this girl up and hurl her over the fence. A little blonde, hi, kind of thing. You're like, eh. But then you see her doing stuff. First of all, she's delightful.
Yeah.
She's absolutely delightful. And when you say, why don't you do that? She's like, okay. And she goes for it. She's just like,
well, I was watching some of the
this.
fight scenes and how she just goes all in.
Yeah.
Just whap,
and
she's
gets her,
down.
And gets her ass kicked constantly. I was joking about her cutting her butt on the concrete, which is that's a funny story. But, I mean, she was not sparing the anatomy when it came to doing that stuff. I mean, she was full bore, which is impressive.
Yeah. And it was a kind of a tough choice, but not a tough choice because it was the not with her, but just being that type of character. It was a rookie, but was she too young? Was she too innocent looking? But that's the way it needed to be.
Too doughy-eyed, too whatever.
But to counteract with Carl and that veteran gristled, nihilist, that had to be.
But she also had this I don't know. I'm not sure conniving is quite the right word, but when it comes to the espionage stuff that she's dealing with,
clandestine kind of stuff.
The kind of stuff where you're kind of like, okay, I could dig that. So she's young and innocent, but not.
She's got that idealism that got her in over her head, just like she thought, I'm going to do some good, and I'm going to just go full steam ahead.
And people like me have to come rescue them when that happens.
Yeah,
it's like,
and
what are you
exactly.
doing?
It didn't. Yeah,
it didn't
look
work
what
out.
happened to her. Yeah, it didn't work out.
It didn't work out. Of course, Maggie
and
Maggie and Lenny.
And coming from it's almost a different film when you consider Vosot alongside of it. You're adding even more history, and then when you add the Serial Rabbit 5 bit with her and Lenny. And her appearances, because she's the voice of the Ponder's universe.
Yeah.
She's the reporter.
She's always a reporter.
Does that. It's almost like the Ponder's Universe is her story, and this was like the summation of her story. But yeah, again, great history there, and even without seeing Vosot coming into this, that first scene with them builds their rapport, and just really. And I know, like we've talked a little bit, it's a little, I don't want to say long-winded, but it had to happen. It needed that.
There are times where you have a little bit much exposition. We talked about Deus Ex exposition. There's a lot, but you're right. That very first little conversation they have, even if I'd never seen them before, boom, I'm totally up on who they are and what they're doing and how they are with each other, and you feel bad for Lenny, and you just want to smack Maggie, and you realize that she's also in over her head, just when it comes to just life in general. It seems like Maggie, just life, she just can't handle any of it,
But the turns that they make, especially that last end scene where they have to make that choice. And
not an easy place to be.
No, and their performances were spectacular.
His was fantastic.
I couldn't imagine.
I wish I could do as well as them.
Yeah,
I wish I could do as well as them. I wish I knew how to do what they do. The way they just kind of just nail it every single time.
Yeah. Now, something we did with the action on that is we kept it fast and raw. I don't know if you consciously saw that that there's these build-ups to action, whoop, and then it just ends, and it's a fast, quick thing. They escape and it's over, or there's a couple shots and it's over and it's all building to that big climax at the end where it's nonstop. But But that was a decision that we made early on.
Yeah.
We made, I think it might have been that Sunday where Hal was on Merck Road. And, and the choreographers, okay, we're going to flip them. We're going to do them on this car.
And it was
like,
Hal.
Let's keep it.
And Hal's like, and of course, Ty's like, no, Hal's going to shoot you.
Yeah.
He's got control of all the grids. He's got control of all the guns. You can fight one or two of you, but we're not doing a knockdown, drag out. That's not Hal.
Yeah.
Hal is not a kung fu master. He's not a big macho. He has guns and he has math. You do not have guns and math and then resort to hand-to-hand fighting. That makes no sense whatsoever. No, I totally agree.
And that carried on throughout the film because all the way even to one of the longest fights would be the Rebecca and Drew fight. Mm-hmm. But considering her size, her stature versus him, that's going to be a longer one.
Yeah,
because she's just got to chip away at him.
That was one of the things. If anyone's ever played video games and you're fighting the big baddie at the end, you can't just walk up there and just go where. You have to run over here and bang, and then they do that big, whatever their big colossal move is, where they go, roar, and you got to duck or dodge or jump or whatever it is, and then he goes roar, like this, and the thing goes back, and you get in there like the boxing, beep, 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 and he goes roar, and you got to duck and dodge, beep, 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 beep. Well, she did that where and she jumps on him and she's whacking the out of him with a hammer. Well, I talked about the hammer, those stuff. Good idea. Because it's small enough for her to use. Not a big sledgehammer. It's going to be unwieldy and difficult. She has a hammer, just a claw hammer. And it's perfect. And she's centering it on his chest and then his head. Exactly. But but it took a little while. But it was horrible and violent and disgusting and terrible. And I loved it.